Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine. Stay tuned for this special edition of NFB Newsline as we bring you highlights of the 2018 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Indiana Holiday Celebration from the Indiana State House.
We want to welcome you to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana program. We have a wonderful program today. We want to talk a little bit about what the National Federation of the Blind Newsline is all about. It is a program, one of the many programs of the National Federation of the Blind. This particular free program allows blind citizens, those that are print challenged, those with certain forms of dyslexia, and even the deafblind now can utilize this free service. You can access over 460 newspapers from around the country, 70 different magazines, international newspapers and publications, breaking news, weather reports, Target and Walmart circulars, and a plethora of other information. We know that information is essential, and literacy is still fundamental. And we know that through these services that people that normally haven't had the opportunity to pick up a printed newspaper or magazine now has the opportunity to do this free. I can read my daily newspapers, Wall Street Journals, my Chicago Times, Los Angeles Times. So there's a plethora of information that makes us more informed consumers. There's also job searches that we have, over 100,000 jobs that individuals can look at throughout the country. So Florence, you want to talk a little bit about the magazines?
Yes, sir. There are over 70 magazines. It's for people of every lifestyle. There's from AARP to WebMD, so there is a magazine for everyone. Now, also, I wanted to also let people know that you can access these services using your landline phone, your computer, a mobile phone, as well as the digital player from the Talking Book and Braille Library.
Highlights from the State House and a special award coming up. Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline. As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 28th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Indiana Holiday Celebration. I'm your MC, Abdul Hakim Shabazz. My day job is I'm a lawyer and political agitator, but today in this capacity, we are all here to celebrate and the life and accomplishments of Dr. Martin Luther King. And on behalf of our speakers, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As a child, I attended Atlanta Public Schools. After graduating high school, I attended Morehouse College, Crozer Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania, and Boston College, where I earned my PhD. In 1954, I became pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger. On December 5th, 1955, the boycott that I organized began. It lasted 380 days. On December 20th, 1956, the buses in Montgomery, Alabama were desegregated. The boycott was the official start of my nonviolent journey. In 1959, I went to India to study nonviolent tactics. Upon my return to the United States, I started nonviolent movements across the country. I was beaten and arrested for my efforts to make the American dream the reality for all Americans. On August 28, 1963, I roughly assembled with 250,000 people. There, I delivered my famous speech, "I Have a Dream." The speech received accolades from all over the world. The two triumphs, the Montgomery boycott and the March on Washington, were marred by tragedies. My friend Medgar Evers was murdered in Jackson, Mississippi on May 12, 1964. And on September 15, 1964, 16th Avenue Baptist Church was bombed. 4 young girls lost their lives. This touched my heart because I had led marches from the church site. These incidents increased my resolve to continue my nonviolent efforts. On April 3rd, 1963, I went to Memphis, Tennessee to march on behalf of Black sanitation workers. I spoke to about 2,000 people on that evening. The very next day, as I stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel, my dreams and those of others were cut short by an assassin's bullet. James Earl Ray, a white racist, was charged with my murder. Darkness cannot out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Free at last, thank God Almighty we are free at last. I am Philippi Dele in the 5th grade in memory of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We will continue to fight for justice and equal rights everywhere.
Hello, my name is Madam C.J. Walker. My maiden name is Sarah Breedlove. I was born December 23, 1867 in Delta, Louisiana. I was an orphan at age 7 and only had 3 months of Sunday school lessons. I moved to Vicksburg, Mississippi to become a domestic worker. After 2 failed marriages, I moved to St. Louis, Missouri with my daughter Aaliyah. I was experiencing scalp ailment and hair loss and other problems such as baldness and a skin disorder due to the Lion soap. I learned about hair care from my brothers who were barbers in 1904 and became a commission agent for Annie Turbo Malone. After marrying Charles J. Walker in 1906, I became an independent hairdresser. The name CJ comes from my husband's name, and Madam comes from French woman pioneers. I was the first Black woman to be a self-made millionaire. Sadly, I died on May 25th, 1920. I am Zakira Peterson. I am a 4th grader at Building Blocks Academy. Let's keep Madam C.J. Walker's legacy alive.
Back with more of the 2018 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Indiana Holiday Celebration on this National Federation of the Blind Newsline Special Edition.
I'm Danny Wayne Beamer, Program Manager of the Elder Blind Program at the Will Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I introduce the NFB Newsline to seniors in 13 southwestern counties in Indiana. I also utilize the NFB Newsline for my radio station public affairs shows. The NFB Newsline, experience it today.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
It's now my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Indiana Civil Rights Commission, Greg Wilson, who has a long-time career in public service before becoming the Executive Director, appointed by Governor Holcomb in 2017. He served as Special Assistant to the Governor, also worked in the Lieutenant Governor's Office, and also Director of Minority and Business Women Development under former Mayor Greg Ballard, and he's also not a bad horse rider either. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Greg Wilson.
Go way back with Abdul. Again, good afternoon, and thank you for coming out. I have the honor today of introducing our governor. Throughout his career in public service, Governor Eric Holcomb has earned a reputation of being a consensus builder. He's worked with Hoosiers from all walks of life to build support for his next level agenda initiatives. He is a graduate of Pike High School in Indianapolis and Hanover College in southeastern Indiana. Please welcome our 51st Governor, Eric Holcomb.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. It's so good to welcome you back to your house, our house, as we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy. They're looking at Lieutenant Governor Crouch, and there's just a few, maybe a handful or two duties as governor and lieutenant governor that you absolutely have to do. Just a few when it all boils down to it. And one is, obviously, we submitted a budget today, and one is the State of the State address. Some folks have gotten creative, and they call it the Governor's Boy Scouts Luncheon, so you kind of feel obligated to do that. But this is one of those events. It's not just a tradition. It really falls into that category as a duty as governor to be a part of recognizing and tributing the great Martin Luther King Jr. He was one of the original, or Dr. King was a quote machine, and you could pick from hundreds of different kind of profound statements that he made throughout his life. But there's one that I always come back to, either early in the day or late in the day, and you've heard it, and it's when he said, the time is always right to do what is right. And that is a pretty simple, time-tested truth that we, not just in this house or our neighbor's house, but especially in our own house, we need to pay close attention. I try to do that each and every day, live up to Dr. King's high standard, his example that he set forth. Sometimes I fall short in my daily life, as we all might do. But that quote really is a driver in this current job that I have. And when you think about just at its core, at his core, his life reminds us that we are all brothers and sisters. We are all created equally in his image, and he understood that. He lived that. He walked that. He taught that. He understood the essential value of coming together, of working together, of respecting one another, how we treat one another, how we lift one another up. And that's something, Tanya alluded to this, but that's something that we can cite around the state of Indiana, something that makes us somewhat unique, sometimes, dare I even say, special. We become known for that, coming together to address big issues together. And that's only fitting, because I don't believe in lonely victories anyway. It's fun to come together. It's fun to overcome together. And it's carrying on really his legacy, that how we treat one another. It's making sure, as he lived out every single day of his life and shared with us, his legacy in part, one very important part of it is that we follow in that tradition, so that we're doing all that we can to make sure that equal treatment, that equal respect is extended to each of us. We say we're a state that works. It needs to be a state that works, for all. And that is the charge, really, at the end of the day. And there are two folks with us today that really personify that teamwork, that being a teammate, that they've just contributed their more than their time and their talents. They contributed their self, have sacrificed year after year after year to help do just that, help convert Dr. King's dream into a reality. Not just to have that dream live on, but to convert it through action, into a reality. And the first Hoosier that I wanted to single out and recognize is Reverend Charles Ellis. As you all know, we sadly lost Reverend Ellis back in September, but we will never lose sight of, or lose the memory of, or the inspiration of Reverend Ellis's passion for his community and for the work that he brought each and every day, really truly saving lives, block by block by block by block, whether it was with the 10-Point Coalition or just on an aside, a one-off meeting to try to save a soul. He was truly an inspiration to those who he had never met, but just like Dr. King, folks looked to him, at him, wondered, can I do half as much as Dr. Ellis? And even in his last days, his illness couldn't take away that passion, that purpose that he understood in life. He was doing what he loved, saving, up until his very last days. I was talking to Greg not too long ago about this very topic, and Greg, as he often does, kind of distilled it down into one sentence, and he described Reverend Ellis as a community guy, someone who had a passion for helping people. I mean, in one sentence, someone who had a passion for helping people. And that was Reverend Ellis, for sure. So it's my honor and true privilege to name Reverend Charles Ellis a Sagamore of the Wabash. And I'm just thrilled that his wife, Tanya, could be here to accept on this great man's behalf. Tanya?
They're going to make me speak, and I came prepared. Thank you to Governor Holcomb, as well as Greg, and the state of Indiana for doing this, and Indianapolis 10-Point Coalition. My husband, Charles Ellis, was also an Alpha, and so this is a wonderful day for me. In tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light." Hate cannot drive out hate, only love. And this is how my husband, Charles, lived his life. Through preaching, he strongly believed in the Word of God. Through his walk with ministry with the church, through ministry with Indianapolis 10-Point Coalition and 10-Point Coalition around the state of Indiana. And just in life in general, he allowed his light to shine. And so I was thinking about this and I said, you know, what would he say if he were here? He would just have a word of encouragement to everybody, as well as to the brothers and sisters of 10-Point Coalition, to continue to let your light shine. In the midst of struggle, in the midst of obstacles, in the midst of hatred, continue to allow your light to shine and preach the uncompromising gospel of Jesus Christ to the world. May God bless you all, and thank you for this honor.
There is a second Hoosier that I would also like to recognize, and I just, maybe like you, I knew he could not stay away from this building for too long, and that's a good thing, because former State Representative Charlie Brown did so much, not just for the region. That's kind of legendary what you did representing your constituents in the region, but really by doing so, upstairs and in the district, what you meant to the state of Indiana. And I got to admit, it's a little weird not seeing you around the building as we get 1 week into this, not bumping into you coming or going, and looking at someone eye to eye, sharing your wit with us all and your perspective. But your, like I said, your record and truly a legacy speaks for themselves. And your commitment and your compassion, which always centers or is tethered to, comes back to people. I mean, every time I heard Charlie speak, it was about people and the quality of their life and how we are working, as I said earlier, how we are working to lift one another up. And that has been, and I would just assume will continue to be, his number one focus. Alex Haley once said, "Find the good and praise it." And ladies and gentlemen, I just stand before you piling on the praise for Representative Charlie Brown. I'm going to continue to call you Representative Charlie Brown. You're always going to be a representative in so many of our hearts and on our minds for all that you have contributed to the health and the wealth of this state, person by person. So it is my honor to also name Representative Charlie Brown a Sagamore of the Wabash.
I think this will be my first opportunity to tell the true story of the battle to name a holiday in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King here in the state of Indiana. And it was quite a struggle. It was, well, that's putting it mildly. I cannot describe adequately how difficult it was. There were a couple before me. I came in 1982 and immediately picked up the mantle, and there was resistance galore in terms of the Indiana General Assembly wanting to honor Dr. King for various reasons. And then finally in 1986, using the system, we didn't do anything illegal, but I have to pay special honor to another former legislator, Representative Hurley Goodall from Muncie, and Senator Allie Craycraft. So I encourage each of you that are interested in supporting the governor, who has already said publicly he is in favor of a hate crime bill. And he can use your support in that respect. So, in honor of Dr. King this day, who for certain would be in favor of Indiana passing a hate crimes bill, do that, everyone here. Honor yourself, honor Dr. King, and most of all, give assistance to the governor and saying, this is the year to pass a hate crimes bill. I'll thank you, Governor, very much for this honor.
Of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
The 2019 Freedom Award winner this year is Lee Marvin, Sr. Mr. Martin lives in Indianapolis and currently serves as president of the Circle City chapter for the National Federation of the Blind. He is a Vietnam veteran and graduate of Indiana State University. He worked at Daimler Chrysler for 7 years as a foundry technician and safety coordinator prior to losing his eyesight. He continues his activism during presentations around the state of Indiana to the general public and to the blind community to engage, encourage, and inspire Indiana citizens to pursue their inalienable rights. We are happy to present Lee with the 2019 Freedom Award. Mr. Lee Martin, Sr., ladies and gentlemen. I love this guy. He's up here lobbying the governor.
The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.